Hey everybody, this is Josh from the Cerberus, and we just got back from Atlanta, Georgia for the first ever Disney Lorcana Challenge. And we will just kind of give everyone an update of how it went, the good, the bad, and just kind of our thoughts on how it went, the future events we're going to go to, if you plan on coming, basically some things to think about, what to learn from our mistakes, what you should definitely do to make sure you're 100% ready to go for your trip, or if you're just curious and you like watching content like this, we really appreciate it. Okay, so our team is based out of the Cincinnati, Ohio area, Cerberiston, and we had about 15 of us all drive down, and we were pretty excited to get to compete, like I said, in the first Lorcana Challenge. We do a lot of local events here. We did a lot of the SOAR championships. Our team ended up winning about 30 stitches, so most of us are pretty competitive. We really enjoy doing the bigger events, so when they announced they're doing something with over 2,000 people, you could bet that we were pretty excited to get to compete. So once again, the drive was about 7 hours going to Atlanta, Georgia. Not that bad considering some people I heard they came from Toronto, people came from Washington I met and talked to. Definitely people who came definitely out of their way to make sure to come to this first event. And it was definitely an event, I'll say that. It was paired also with MomoCon. If you guys are familiar with MomoCon, it's a really large anime convention they do in Atlanta. Definitely did not anticipate how big that was in comparison to what we were doing. Very, very excited. There's still a ton of people, but you could definitely tell something else was going on in the city besides just a card game tournament. I'll say that. It was so many people were dressed up in cosplay costumes from all kinds of different animes, TV shows, movies, all kinds of different things. So it was a very nice, eclectic nerd fandom, I'll say, this whole weekend, whether you were a game player or if you were just, like I said, a more generic nerd that enjoys going to something like a Comic-Con. Main event. So the main event had 1,988 players, I believe, and it was 9 rounds, was round 1. Now, I was in the main event. My wife was not. Most of us that came down from the Cerberus Den was in the main event. So I think it was about 14 of us that were in the main event. And what was so fun about the main event was just the sheer scope of it. It was crazy. It was the amount of people we saw that were there to play competitive Lorcana was great. We saw a lot of familiar faces that I've met in the past. The Forbidden Mountain guys, got to meet a couple goons. Team Labyrinth, I got to meet a couple handful of people while we were there. So it was really fun to kind of see all the different people in the community all gathered in one spot, regardless of where they're normally located. So I personally think I am a good player. I don't think I am the best player. So I went into the tournament assuming that I was going to not necessarily make day 2, especially not maybe the top 64, but I still wanted to try, right? I was in the main event. I'm going to try to do it. But even with 2,000 people in the main event, I still managed to play someone on the Cerberus Den team on round 2. And that's not fun. I know people, when you're local and you're like, oh man, I got paired against my friend. Imagine being paired when there's 2,000 people and there's only like 10 of you. The odds of that are pretty astronomical. So shout out to Bobby. I think he would have beat me anyway, to be honest, but I was happy to let him have that win because once again, even though I consider myself a competitive player, I would rather someone else on the team be able to basically make sure they can go forward in the tournament, knowing that I probably, like I said, probably would not have won that round, to be fair anyway. He was definitely in the better matchup. In the event, I ran Zoolander, Blue Steel. He was definitely on the Ruby Sapphire, which if anyone knows, that's not a good matchup, even though mine is slightly tweaked from the normal Blue Steel list. So long story short, I went the first 3 rounds, figured out right away that doing our math and figuring out the points and everything, that I was not going to make it too far unless it would have to be like undefeated for like 6 rounds straight. And I'm very realistic to know that that's not very possible. And I came to Atlanta for one reason: Rapunzel's. That's right, Rapunzel's. I came there with the intent of getting a playset of that Rapunzel. So I love the Mufasa deck very, very much. Rapunzel in general is definitely one of my favorite cards. I think it's very, very good. And I think it only got more powerful with the new set. So to know that there is basically the non-foil enchanted, essentially Rapunzel, I was very excited to get my hands on those. So after the third event, everyone got their Dragonfire promo, so I was able to get one of those. Very excited. Another thing they did, which was very nice, they definitely did not have to do this. Everyone was definitely shocked, is they gave everyone also a Scrooge McDuck promo. So if anyone's not aware, when they first announced the event, they made it clear of, hey, you just have to make sure you're there for the event and everything's good to go. And then they kind of retroactively were like, well, you have to make sure you sign up for the event, in theory, Friday. You have to do pre-registration. Well, as I mentioned earlier, there's people from Toronto, there's people from Washington, there's people coming from all over the world who have plane tickets. Well, it's not as easy to just show up 4 or 5 hours early, especially if you've already got your plane ticket. So it's they kind of acknowledged that and was like, you know what, we're kind of sorry. We understand that some of you weren't able to get here in time. Maybe you couldn't get the pre-registration promo, the Flotsam and Jetsam that they gave us on Friday, but they gave everyone a Scrooge McDuck promo, which is great because I personally didn't have one. I was also on my list of things I needed to get while I was there. Sadly, I was not able to get to attend Gamma, and I think there's only like maybe 2 events in the United States that even have the Scrooge McDuck. So I was definitely ready to leave there to make sure I traded to get one, but I was able to get one of those as well, so that definitely worked out. So as soon as round 3 was over, the name of the game was side events. So day 1 side events is very, very different than day 2 side events. Now, this might be a unique experience, so what I'm about to say, take with a grain of salt, because I'm not so sure this is 100% how it's going to be in the future, but I'll say what the normal standard is. And the normal standard is when you participate in any side event, it didn't matter if you were doing constructed, sealed, draft, you were going to get 2 tickets for participating and 2 tickets for each match win. So it's best 2 out of 3. So they're not doing the 2-game format in the side events. That was only for the main event. And you would get 2 tickets per match win. And then if you go 3-0, you get a bonus ticket. So just by sitting out at the table, you get 2 with another potential 7. So the most you could possibly get is 9. Now, these are 3-round events, like I just mentioned. So with a 3-round event, it still took close to 4 hours per event. Well, when you do that math and you're getting there at, like, we'll say 11 or noon, like I said, after the 0-3 for the first main event, you're realistically only going to be able to do 2 events. That's 8 hours for 2 events. So at most, by playing in 2 events and getting a perfect record, you can get 18 tickets. Now, if those not aware, the cost of the promos for the prize wall, it was 12 for the Cinderella and 14 for the Rapunzel. So you do that math, you spend the whole day, you're going to get 1 Rapunzel. Now, I don't even talk about the t-shirts and the hats and that kind of stuff. That was just not even close to feasible. It was over 20 tickets, 25. Once I saw it for the first time, I forgot the number, to be honest, because I was like, nope, that's not going to happen. Hopefully in the future they fix that in the sense, specifically for the shirt and hat, because obviously everyone wanted one, so hopefully they sell those and it won't just be an exclusive thing you have to use your tickets on, because otherwise no one will get them. Because when it comes to the end of the day, like, those promo cards are not only they gorgeous, but they're also playable cards, but they're extremely collectible. So there's like multiple facets of why you would always pick to choose the promo cards that they have on the prize wall instead of another t-shirt that you probably have 100 of anyway. That being said, everyone still wanted one. It's just when you're comparing apples to apples, this t-shirt is definitely nowhere near the value, not only monetarily, but the value of getting to play a card that looks gorgeous in your deck compared to a t-shirt. It's so much more to get the t-shirt. So anyway, long story short, grinded really hard. I was able to get 2 Rapunzels on day 1. My wife was with me. Sadly, she got food poisoning and was not able to attend any event on day 1, so that was very unfortunate. I feel bad for her. She is coming to Chicago, so she definitely has her second chance. She was able to play on day 2 in the side events, but sadly day 1 she was pretty much out for the count. Didn't do a single event. And when it comes to the attendee badge, if you guys are not aware, you get 6 tickets just that comes with your attendee badge. So that's something to think about. If, as I mentioned earlier, like I said, I'm not a hardcore competitive player. I am definitely good. I definitely enjoy playing competitively, but I am, like I said, not naive enough to think that I'm going to go win the biggest Lorcana tournament in the country. So in the future, I might potentially get an attendee badge. I'm not sure, because I really did enjoy doing the community events, the side events, because of the community, like I said. So I really like the idea of meeting new people. We're from out of town. Everyone's from out of town, essentially. So everyone's like, where are you from? What's going on? I really enjoy that aspect of the game. A lot of families that were playing the game, which is really nice. I'll take a quick shout out real quick to, let's see, I have her name written down here. It is Rosie. Rosie and her family was able to just grind side events the whole week, and they were actually able to get the Cinderella playmat, which was 100 tickets. Now, if you just did the math I said earlier, where if you go undefeated on day in a round one event, that's 9 tickets. So, and we're gonna say you can do 2 events. That's 18. Do that 2 days. That's less than 20 tickets. They were able to get 100 tickets. They were so fun to meet. Rosie, she kicked my butt. We did sealed, and if anyone's not played a limited format, usually they highly go against you playing some like an aggro of some kind. Like you don't play a whole lot of 1-drops. She did the complete opposite. I felt like I was playing Amber Amethyst. She just ran me over completely. But she was extremely well mannered. I really appreciated getting to talk and play with someone, like I said, who's younger in my daughter's play. So I got a little homesick there for a second. Like, man, I wish my daughter was here. But like I said, I love seeing the families, and hopefully in the future I can hopefully bring my daughters to come play in one of these events also, because it's very family friendly. I can't stress that enough. Like if you are thinking of coming here, like, are these people really competitive? Are they mean? Not from what I saw. Now, of course, I'm not going to say that never happens, but from what I was able to see in the side events, specifically day one, a lot of families, a lot more casual players. People are dressed up. They got their Disney attire. Basically, it looks like people are attending Disney World, if you know what I'm talking about. They got the matching family shirts. They're maybe wearing their Mickey Mouse ears. The kind of stuff you would expect to see families walking around and doing at Disney World. It was that same mentality. So kind of take that how you will, of how you would approach something like that with casual. Another fun thing that was really great about the event was Ryan Miller was there. So those not aware, Ryan Miller is the co-creator of Lorcana, and he's very, very fun. I definitely a kindred spirit with Ryan, because I feel like he said something that meant a lot to me. I kind of think about a lot of the idea of being put on this earth to make people smile. So I feel that a lot personally, of I'm not here to win. I'm not here to be the best player ever. I am here to shake hands and kiss babies, in the sense of I am here for the community, having fun, and just the idea of just showing up with our team with 15 people. I already won the whole weekend, so I really honestly didn't matter to me what I was able to win and not win. So, and Ryan, I feel kind of felt the same way. I got to meet him. That was great. He was signing things. He did multiple signings throughout the day. People were getting pictures with him. Like I said, he was very light spirited, had fun, poking fun at things. We had there's some people had some custom play mats that were definitely I'm not going to say they were inappropriate, but they definitely weren't something I would think that would be allowed in the sense of like copyright and stuff like that. But he didn't care. He was laughing. He was signing things. There was an issue that they had in the live stream where if you guys didn't hear about this, there was a Captain Hook that was on the field with the 1-drop Captain Hook with 2 damage on it, and it sat there and was like the whole game, and I got an extra like 4 lore or something like that by its own. And in retrospect, everyone's freaking out like, he has 2 health. What's going on? He should have been banished a long time ago. And he acknowledged that and was actually retconning Captain Hooks for people, so he would cross out the 2 and make it have 3 health. So little stuff like that, that's very funny. Like I said, very lighthearted. He gets it. He understands. Even though, like I said, some of the issues they did have, the thing I think I enjoy most about Ravensburger and the Lorcana team is how quickly they pivot. Man, do they pivot. People I know, when the set first came out, were like, man, we can't get cards. We can't get anything. And how quickly Lorcana was able to pivot and get more cards out to people, or if people were upset about, hey, the event sold out. Let's right into the Atlanta Challenge. The event sold out almost immediately. What are we gonna do? You know what? We're gonna double it. We're gonna make it to where 2,000 people come. So little stuff like that, and I think that means a lot. And it means a lot to me personally. I know to know not only that you acknowledge that there's a mistake, but that you can correct the mistake in a timely manner. It's one thing. I mean, first off, apologizing and acknowledging it is alone a big issue. I know some of these other really big card games, they won't even acknowledge certain issues. They just literally, they won't talk about it. If they're asked about it, they won't acknowledge it even exists. So to not only do that, but then also fix it that quick is huge. Because, for example, so some of the cons that happened at the event was day 2 morning. Now day 2, obviously, like 1,900 people roughly didn't get to make it to day 2. We'll say 1,800. Anyway, so you have 1,800 people who are still at the show looking to participate in side events day 2, plus all the people there before, which was hundreds on top of that. So we'll say well over 2,000 people are ready to go to do side events. They were having issues with Melee, and basically they decided they need to basically do in-person sign up. Now, imagine 2,000 people now in line looking to sign up for events that have a cap of 64 to 128 players. Most of them being 164 players, because those were the sealed events. And So it was definitely an issue where there's a lot of people who were not upset, or that were upset, and they were in line. Lines were changing. They were making 2 lines, 3 lines. But once again, even though those were issues, and they acknowledge their issues, but once again, they were able to pivot so fast. So I feel most people still got to participate in the side events, and toward the very beginning of day 2 with the tickets, they decided to double. That's ×2 how many tickets you get for doing an event, for anything. Now that is huge. I can't stress enough. So remember before I said, if you grind it all day and went perfect, you might be able to get yourself a Rapunzel or a Cinderella of the promo cards, right? You just doubled it. That it's a whole nother situation. So it became very different mentality everyone had when you sat down at the table. You just got 4 tickets. Now you're gonna play your opponent. If you win the match, you get 4 tickets. That adds up really, really quick when you only need 12 to 14, depending on which promo you're looking for. So a lot of people were able to get the tickets. I think for the most part, if you were there day 2 and you were playing side events, I think every person I spoke to, especially looking at the line of the prize pool ticket compared to day 1, I think everyone was able to walk away with at least 1 promo, which is good. Now, of course, not everyone got to walk away with a ton of cards. I personally because of that, I personally was able to walk away with a playset of Rapunzel, so I got 4, which I'm very, very happy about. And I was able to also get one of the Cinderellas. So I was very excited. I got what I came there to do, and I was very, very happy because now hopefully I can play that in my new Mufasa deck. Let's see. So a couple other notes here. Obviously, the main event, how that went. So day 2 main event, very, very exciting, very awesome. You got to see the coverage. They were, I guess this is a negative, but it depends on who you talk to. It definitely is a positive. Is the stream was a few hours delay. And the reason for that is they were basically making sure that as much as they could, everything was kosher. Like they were making sure graphically everything looked good. They were putting animation on there. They were cutting to the commentators who were talking, kind of giving a history on showing deck lists and stuff like that, which if anyone's running an event, which we have here at the Cerberus, it is almost impossible to do this stuff in real time. So if you're trying to do like a little history on the player and kind of talk about where they're from or just their thoughts or how the previous match went, for the most part, events, like you're on a rhythm. You're going, and you, everyone who, especially who's there for a long time, they're just ready for the next round. They don't want to wait for, especially a commentator, sit there and just talk when the next round could get started. So there were a few hours delay. So positives and negatives that go with that. Like I said, the positives is a lot more polished than it would have if they just did it completely live. So anyway, the main event happened, and our winner was Joshua. I think it's Paltry, can't pronounce that last name, sorry. But Joshua, another fellow Josh. So really glad he was able to do that. And not only did he win the tournament, but man, the deck he ran made me very, very happy. So once again, as I mentioned earlier, I'm a Mufasa player. I like Mufasa a lot. And not only is he running a Mufasa deck, but it was Amber Amethyst Mufasa. And a lot of people were scratching their heads like, what? And now, I'm not going to say I'm nowhere near as good as Josh or as good of a deck constructed person, but early set 3, I made a similar list, and I was very, very excited about it. And everyone on the team's like, you're crazy, like that's not gonna work, you don't know what you're talking about, like you should play this instead. And I was like, all right, you're right, it's not really working the way I want. Now mine wasn't exactly like his. I had a little more late game stuff, but I'll tell you what I definitely didn't have, and this is the talk, and will be the talk for a while, is the Cinderella Fairy Godmother combo. Ooh, that is spicy. So if anyone's not aware and got to see this list, he is running what would normally be called an unplayable card, and no one knew what this card did before this weekend. And it is the 3-cost Fairy Godmother, 3/4. And her ability is, whenever you play a character named Cinderella, exert chosen character. Well, okay, how often do you have Cinderella? How reliable is that? Well, what's funny about yellow Amber Amethyst is you have access to the 1-drop Cinderella. Now, so she's in the deck. Is there a song in the deck? Which is what people normally think about with her, right? Barring sensation, you're saying in your Storm Rage On, you're saying in your Strength of Raging Fire. No. There's not a single action in this deck. So you're scratching your head like, why is 1-drop scening Cinderella in the deck? Arguably the best scener in the game to be able to do that early game control. That is because you can pay 1, essentially, to exert a chosen character. Now, if anyone's played Ruby Amethyst in the last set, even toward the last in the set 2, you know that Pinocchio is a very good card. So Pinocchio is 2 uninkable, and when he comes to play Exert chosen character. Now, that is huge because so many times you have characters that you don't want to have exerted before that you can, right? You don't want your Bucky's exerted. You don't want, well, Bucky's a bad example because he has word. But Ursula, 3-drop Ursula, he sings a song. You want to be able to at least get the double sing in your first song, right? Being able to exert that and challenge it and take it out immediately before they even get to use it is huge. And with being able to do it with Cinderella, not only is it inkable and it costs less, but with the inclusion of Perdita, you can bring it back whenever you need to. So Perdita becomes this, if you guys are not aware of Perdita, she costs 6, she's uninkable. When she comes into play, you can return a character that costs 2 or less onto the battlefield. So, and whenever she quests as well. So you can play Perdita, put Cinderella in play, and all of a sudden exert something whenever you need to. So if you have your foxes, your snakes, if you got your crab out there, you're boosting something up, you basically have free reign to target anything you want and take it out as long as it doesn't have ward. And then to quest with Perdita, you can do it again. Now, that is such a fun, spicy combo that no one saw come. And then on top of that, they're also shifting that Godmother when they need to. So when the game comes later and they did extra lore, or they're needing basically the challenger boost, they can do that as well. Now, I personally didn't get to see him do that crazy combo, but I remember on the ride home just like really going over that list and going, this man's a genius. I cannot believe he thought of that. That's so amazing. I love it. Because for the most part, I think Perdita was being used to bring back something like Cusco to keep your hand full. So another thing, the beauty of that deck is, man, can it draw a lot of cards. Not only does it have the obvious like Merlin Rabbit bounce package we can do stuff, but by having Chernobog followers and Cusco, every time Cusco is banished, draw a card. Well, then Perdita brings it back just to be banished to draw a card again, while also gaining that 1 or 2 lore before it actually gets taken out. Overall, I can't talk about this deck enough. It made me very, very excited. One of the people in our chat, Chad, was like, he's like, I knew the second you saw this list you're going to freak out, and I was. Because not only is it something similar that I built myself and felt very proud of, even though it didn't quite work out, just the fact that these kind of off-the-wall combos, off the beaten path that no one saw coming, wins a tournament. Not just a tournament, the tournament. I mean, well, the biggest we've had so far, right? 2,000 players to be able to do that and be able to take out that many with some of the best players in the world in attendance. I mean, that's pretty awesome. It definitely gives hope to anyone who has always enjoyed kind of the old school like deck brew on the kitchen table of like, can this work, can it not work, while also being very aware of all the net decking top decks also that are usually in tournaments because they're so consistent, and some of the best players are running those decks too. So it was really, really nice. So huge shout out to Joshua. Awesome. Congrats on the win. Very, very cool. Very, very humble. I'll say that too. He definitely was not one of those players who've won a ton of championships in the past, and he's like, yeah, this is just another notch in my belt. He made it clear before of like, hey man, I just wanted to play this deck because I thought it was a lot of fun, and he definitely didn't go there with the intent of win it all and kind of be one of those, not aggressive or angry players, but just one of those players. You gotta understand what I'm saying. Is he didn't go similar to myself, like, you know what, I'm here to have fun. I am gonna bring a good deck. I am gonna play hard, but to win it all is very, very, very fun. It's very awesome. So that's kind of all we have from the trip. Like I said, it was very, very fun. I can't stress enough, if you are coming, so here's a couple little tips to be aware of when you're going to your event. Highly recommend the pre-check-in, because the lines to get in are very high. Like I said, there's thousands of people going to this event, and with the pre-registration for the main event specifically, you're getting a promo. So if you are able to come early, the promo is worth it. The Flotsam and Jetsam promo, not that it's necessarily the best usable card, but I will say the history has shown that when it comes to those kind of event promos, they, especially if they're limited and how you get them, it makes a big difference. For example, those you're not aware, the vendors that were at the event, great vendors, they were kind of your standard normal card store, bigger vendors, like PPG, or if you think of places like Cool Stuff Inc. and stuff like that. I can't remember them off the top of my head, sorry. Cool Stuff Inc. was not one of them, but an example of a big online presence store, kind of there buying and trading, selling cards. Ravensburger did not have a booth. Can't stress that enough. Now, this might change in the future, but this was a big part that I think was also very relevant with the whole t-shirt hat situation that no one was able to buy is because there was no official booth. So if you've ever been to Gen Con or PAX, some of these other bigger events that they've attended where they have a booth, everyone knows that you can get all kinds of promos, right? Every X dollars you spend, you're walking away with extra promos. So those kind of promos aren't nearly as big of a deal. You're going to get a handful of them as long as you keep going back in line and buying more and more product. That was not the case. The only way to get that Flotsam Jetsam promo was to pre-register for the main event on Friday. So there was no attendees that were able to get that. It was not on the prize wall. It was not handed out as a, like I said, you spent X dollars and you get a free promo. None of that happened. So as far as I'm concerned, my understanding is that Flotsam and Jetsam promo is more limited than almost anything that was at that show, because multiple people, like myself, were able to get multiple Rapunzels. People got multiple Cinderellas. People were able to get some of these exclusive promos. Now, obviously, nowhere near as limited as the foil versions of some of these promos, like the Let It Go and stuff like that. But when you think of only the main event, so now you just narrowed it down to roughly 2,000 people, and then how many of those people pre-registered, that's the only amount of people that got that card. So pre-register. If you can, definitely try to do it. If you haven't booked your flight, or if you're planning a future one like Texas or Vegas or something like that, give yourself that extra day. It also means a lot too when you're trying to sleep. This is another one of those weird things that maybe people don't think about of, oh yeah, that's fine, I'm used to getting 4 hours of sleep, or I wake up early anyway. One thing that people always tend to still forget about is how different a hotel bed is, or your Airbnb bed is. So like you maybe not sleep as well. So not only are you going to get rewarded with that card, but that extra little bit of sleep you'll get with not needing the hardcore caffeine kick at like 9 in the morning when you're playing for 9 rounds. It's a big difference to get that, like I said, that little bit extra time to recoup. So a situation when it came to, like I said, MomoCon, that was huge. So I'm not sure how this is going to go with the other shows. Nothing against MomoCon. We were actually able to stop in there Monday, and my daughters are huge Has-Been Hotel fans, so I was able to go there and meet the creator. So that was fun. Looks like completely unrelated to the main event, but if there is something else like that that's big that's in town, football season's coming up, and usually these are near giant football stadiums, be very aware of what else is going on, because not only is it going to affect the obvious things of traffic and stuff like that, but it could affect parking dramatically, especially, like I said, if you're downtown and they have a pro football team, or baseball, whatever the sport is, and they have a big event, those garages, they always jack up those prices because it's an event. Ironically, even though there's 2,000 people at like a Lorcana event, that's not considered an event for these really big cities, unless it's something like Gen Con, like very massive. So usually you get that advantage of, cool, I get a cheaper hotel because there's nothing going on this weekend in the main city. But with something like MomoCon or a show like that, it definitely was. So everything was dramatically affected. Restaurant times, lead time. We ordered, like, when we were done with the main event, we just literally ordered some like Papa John's, just generic like pizza delivery, and it took like an hour and a half to get it. And it was only like 2 blocks away. So I mean, that just generically kind of shows you, like, when you're kind of thinking about those different things of how much is it going to affect my normal, what I take for granted in a day-to-day, or even going to a show, like I said, wouldn't normally have this many extra people in the city. You have to almost think of it like you would something like Gen Con or these really, really other big shows, even though it's not apples to apples, it's the same thing. So that's all I have. Like I said, we had a great time, a lot of fun. We are going to be heading to Chicago soon. Still waiting on the final head count of how many of us are going to go, but Team Cerberus will definitely be representing at Chicago, where Set 4 will be legal, which makes me very, very excited, because me and my wife have been definitely working on some fun, spicy stuff for that. It's definitely off the beaten path, like I mentioned earlier, which, as we just saw this past weekend, could make a big difference in the meta. So we look forward to seeing everyone out there. If anyone's there, definitely come say hi. We'd like to meet you. Tell us where you're from. We're thinking about something fun to kind of hand out to people if they come find us at a show. But like I said, thank you again for watching. Appreciate it. Hopefully do a lot more stuff like this. We'll plan on doing like maybe a vlog while we're actually there at the show, kind of showing everyone what it's like, and just so you can kind of experience it almost in real time with us. And yeah, so if there's more content like this you want to watch, definitely please subscribe, like. We're definitely newer to when it comes to the social media side of things here at our game store at the Cerberus Den, and we appreciate you watching. Thank you.